Viewers, you are welcome to another episode of Python Data Analysis with Python Beginner's Guide. I remain your instructor, Vincent Hope. So we'll jump right into our lectures today. Today, in our fourth recording, what do we have to do today? We will be dealing with files and folders which are also called directories. With how to check Python working directory. We'll also look how to load files into Python, then work with conditional statements, write custom functions, and using list comprehension. So you see we have a lot of things to do today, so let's jump right into it. So files and folders. If you are already experienced in programming, you don't need much information about files and folders. But just in case you are just new to programming or data analysis or computers in general, let's just go through this so we can have an understanding of what files are, folders, or directories. Our focus is actually on folders or directories. Now let me minimize this and come here, in this screen here. Now let me create this yellow things you see here are all called folders, while these ones are called files. So I just want to create a folder. I right click on the desktop, then go to new, and I click folder. You see it's a folder here. I click folder, then it says new folder. Let me call this main folder. I type a name, main folder, and I press enter. Now the name of the folder is main folder. If I double click it to see the content, you discover there is the folder. It says the folder is empty. Now let me put an information in that folder. I can decide to copy a document. Let me put this AI curriculum. I copy this document inside this folder here. If I copy it here, okay, it's now, if I now double click or I copy another one, Excel data, or let me leave this here, let me use this one, let me say plethora. I copy this information here. Now if I double click this folder now, you can see now I have two contents inside this folder, two files inside this folder. Inside this folder again, I can also create another folder. I come here, I right click, and I select new, and I click folder. Now this is the folder here. Now let me call it call it subfolder. Okay, so I click it. So I have two files and one subfolder. If I close it now, so this folder in data analysis in Python is actually called directories. So I want you to note that. If I double click it now, the main folder directory, you have two files under the main folder. Then we have one subfolder or subdirectory here. And if you double click this, there is nothing inside. This is empty. If I want to go back, I just click back. So subfolder empty. Then two areas. So in this main folder, we have one directory or one folder and two files. So that's just for the purpose of, because we need it for the basis of what we want to do next. Now let's make progress. Now let's come back. Okay, so we have dealt with files and folders. Now let's talk about checking Python working directory. Remember, we just dealt with directory. Okay, this is supposed to be directory here. Okay, directory. Okay, checking Python working directory. You want to know the current working directory that you are working with in Python. Now to do this in this Kaggle environment, you use this instruction, this code, import OS. Import OS means import operating system, importing operating system module. So now to check the working directory, you'd have to type OS, that is after you have imported the os.get cwd, which means get current working directory, get current working directory. By the time you run it, when you run it now, okay, if you click to run, okay, is it taking a bit of time? Okay, fine. The current working directory is Kaggle. The current working directory here is Kaggle. Let me click current working directory. Okay, is Kaggle. Okay, now in the current working directory, now if you want to change the current working directory, for example, under this current working directory, we have other directories which are not being displayed here right now. Now we have Kaggle. Now to change the current working directory, I can change this current working directory. There's another directory or subfolder that's in this directory. In this directory called Kaggle, it's called working. It's called what? Working. If I play it, okay, now you can see now I have changed from Kaggle, just the Kaggle working directory. I have changed it to Kaggle. I've changed the working directory to working, which is under Kaggle. I hope we can get this. Now we have, it says OS change directory to working Kaggle. Now os.get working directory, it tells us Kaggle. So I can decide to still leave it like this, or I remove it. I remove this and I click play, and I discover that the current working directory, now let me click play, is now back to Kaggle. Now let's make progress. Okay, let's make progress. Now let's come here now. If I want to check the informations or the directories that are in Kaggle, Kaggle is a folder, well, like we just discussed, but here in Python, we prefer to call it directory. So if I want to check the information here, I only have to type os.list directory. The first one was change directory, to change it from Kaggle to Kaggle working. But here is list directory, means list the contents. List the directories or folders in Kaggle. When I click on this and I click run it, these are the directories here. Now we have library, input, Titanic, and although this Titanic is a file, but we have list, input, Titanic file, and working directory. So we have three directories: lib, library, input, and working. .csv means it's a file. Anything that is something means it's a file. So we have three directories and one file. So now let's make progress. Now, just in case now we want to see exactly what is in the input. Remember, we have three directories now, or three folders. Under the Kaggle, we have library, we have input, we have working. So I want to see exactly what is an input directory. If I click on this, I click run. So under the input directory, I have Titanic tutorial, Shovel CSV, student records, pandas exercise, Titanic, Excel with Python pandas. Now if I want to check what is inside the lib directory, I put lib here, I run it. Okay, I only have Kaggle under the lib library directory. Let me check what I have under the working directory. Working directory, I run it. I have virtual documents, so you can see. Now let me go back to input directory, and I run the information here. So these are information. Now where did I get this information? You can always add the information here under the add inputs. Now if you look at, you discover we have pandas exercise. You see it here. You have shuffle CSV. You see shuffle CSV. So let me say I remove one. I want to remove the shuffle CSV. I come to the edge here, I click, and I click remove here. Now if I run this, this is code again. I click here, I run it. If you notice, shuffle CSV is no longer here. If I want to add more directories to my directory under the input directory, because this is the provision here, I can click add input. Now when I click add input, and now you see you can add all your work data sets, models, the computation data sets, notebook, utility script. So let me say I want to add something, let me call it CSV files for CSV directories. Now if I just type CSV, a lot of them will come up. You can scroll down if you want, scroll down. So let me say create Corona, and I add it here. I say add notebook output to create Corona CSV file. I add it here. Now it says adding source create Corona. If I run it now again, okay, you can see now. You can see the create Corona is back here. So that's how you add information from the Kaggle environment, and you check using the list directory code. So now let's make progress. Okay, now we're going to check what we have in the Titanic folder. This is the Titanic folder. Look at it here, or the Titanic directory. So we say go OS list directory cargo/import/ Titanic. Now when you run it, we have 3 files there. These are not why I told you, anytime you see .something, it tells you the file. So we have train CSV file, test CSV file, gender submission file. So these are the 3 files that we have in the Titanic folder. So let's make progress. So now we need to know how to read data in Python environment using the Kaggle environment right now. The CSV, which means comma separated value, CSV, TSV means tab separated values, and Excel files. There are 3 files: CSV files, TSV files, and Excel files are the most commonly used files used to store data suitable for data analysis. Now, how does CSV file look like? Look at the CSV. You have the name Jude, comma. That's why it's called comma separated value. Jude, comma. The age is 45. The sex is male. Then we have another one, Martha, comma, which is the name. Age is 23. Sex is female. We have Max, comma. Then age is 39. Male is female. So it's separated by commas. But the TSV is just separated by tabs. Jude dash 45 dash male. Martha dash 23 dash. So I hope you have an idea of what this means now. Now let's make progress. How do you load data into Python environments? Now, to read a CSV file into Python, those files exist on their own. So if you want to work with them, because they are data sets, you have to load them into Python. So how do you load them into Python? You have to import the Pandas framework first. So you say import Pandas as PD, which we have treated before in one of the previous lessons. So you said that this is the narration: import Pandas data frame into your program. You must state this code first. Then you get a name. This Titanic_train is a name that was adopted here. You can use any name here, equal to, because you want to pass. This is the name you are generating or you are trying to create in Python, and you want to load the Pandas, load the data file into this name here. Now you now say pd.readcsv. This is the code, pd.readcsv. You're trying to read a CSV file. Now you'll have to locate where it is. Brackets, inverted commas, cargo, import, /Titanic/train.cv. So which file are we loading? We are actually loading this train.csv, but it is under Titanic directory, which is under input directory, which is under cargo directory. So we are loading this train.csv into Titanic train. Now, if we want to see how this train file, which you have loaded into this train.csv, which we are loaded into Titanic train, if you want to see the content, you can display them using this code here, Titanic_train.head. You can say you can show the first 5 data. Now, by the time you run it, you can see this first 5 data will come out. It has passenger ID, survived, P class, name, sex, age, and the rest of it, ticket, fare, and the rest of it. So these are the informations there. If you want just the first 3 information, you can change this to 3. You run it, it will only give you the first 3 information. So it tells you that this train CSV, which is under Titanic, which is under input, which is under Kaggle, has been loaded into Titanic train. Now we make progress. If you want to see the last 5 data, you can now type Titanic.train, Titanic_train.tail. You put the last 5 data. You type tail head. For this one, it's for head 3. It should show you the first height. If it's 10 heads you want, let's put 10 heads, for example, here so that you can see it. You want 10, it shows you 10. So if we come down here we want the tail, means that we want just the last 5 records. That tail, we run it, it shows you the last 5 records. You can see that the data ends at 890 and the same information you have, but this is the last set of 5 data. Now let's make progress. So when we were trying to read the pandas CSV file, we used the code. Which code did we use? We used pd.readcsv. If you are reading a CSV file, comma separated file. Now there are other kinds of files which you need to read. So if you want to read a TSV file, you use pd.read_table. If you want to read an Excel file, you use pd.read_Excel. You want to read directly from a web page, you use pd.read_HTML. And if you copy the file to the clipboard, you read pd.read_clipboard. So those are the ways to use it in Python. So let's make progress. Now the file we have read, which is Titanic train, we want to write it to another file. We want to write it to another file. That's, we want to change it. We want to write this content to another file. So you now say Titanic_train dot to CSV. You want to it's still a CSV file. Then you now type the name of the file, Titanic_draft.csv. This writes data to it, see to the CSV file. Now by the time you list the directory 0os.list directory cargo, you list it, you discover that this library, you have library input Titanic.draft and working directory under the Kaggle. Now let's do something. Let's put Titanic 2 here and see what happens. If I run it, you now discover now I have 2 files which I've added. Titanic 2, because I just added it now, library input, and the first one we added, plus this working directory. So you see how to write data into a file in Python. Now let's make progress. We'll go now to conditional statements. What are conditional statements? These are programming statements that control how programs execute. That is, it determines whether or not a program is executed based on certain conditions. Examples include if statements, if-else statements, elif statements, for loop statements, while loop statement. Now let's see how it works in practical terms. Now using the if statement. So if x is 43, which you are assigning variables now, y is 25. If x is greater than y, what is x greater than y? Yes, x is 43, y is 25. Print x is greater than y. So when you run the program, it tells you that x is greater than y. So you are using the if statement. Now we come to the if else statement. X is 15, y is 25. If x is greater than y, put a column, print x is greater than y. Is x greater than y? From these assumptions, no. Else, print y is greater than x. So if we run it, you see that it says here y is greater than x, because y is actually greater than x. Now let me make the x 35 and I run it. You will see now it says x is greater than y. So this is how to use the if else statement. If else. Let's make progress. Okay. Now we're having the elif to the if else statement. So we have one, y is equals to 45. If x is greater than y, column, print x is greater than y. Else if x is equal to y, print x and y are equal. else if y is greater than x, print y is greater than x. So we chose that x here is 45. We say y is greater than x. Let's reduce this number. Remove this. We run it. You now see that x is greater than y. Now let's put y here 15 if I'm correct. Y is greater than x. Let's check what is the value of y of x. X is 35. Let's put 35 here and see and run it. You can see y and x and y are equal because y we made it 35 and x was 35. So that's how to use the elif statement. So we make progress with the Python with the loops. Okay, so this is loops. So what is a loop? A loop is a sequence of instructions that is continuously repeated until a certain condition is met. Let's take an example. We have a list which is equal to a range of numbers from 0 to 20, step 2. You can make it step 3 or step 4. Then you say numbers is equal to list. Then for even numbers, which what we create, you can give it any name. In numbers, this numbers here, print even numbers. By the time we run it, you see that we have non-even numbers 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and the rest. Okay, let's make progress. Now we have the break statements. In the break statements, we use the break. Let's see how it works. List 2 is equal to a range of 0 to 100, step 10. Numbers is equal to list 2. For even numbers in numbers, even if even numbers is greater than 60, they are greater than 60, break. That means stop. Print even numbers. If you run it, you can see. So if we say if even numbers is greater than 50, it will stop the operation. You can see it stops at 50. So that's how to use the for loop with the break attached. Now let's make progress. Now we have the while loop statement. So we have x is equal to 5, number is 0, while number is less than x. This number is less than x. Execute the content as long as number is less than x. Print progress. Number equals to number plus 1. You want it to continue to repeat itself. If you run this code, you see that it is progress, 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 progress. If we make this 3 and we run the code, you can see it will give us 3 of the output of the prints. So that's how to use the while loop. Now we are making progress. Okay. Now we can also use the np.where loop statement. Now how do you do that? You say import numpy as np. You know that how to import the numpy library. Data, which is the name we gave to it, equals to np.random.uniform, a range of between 5 and 50. Give me a random number, a random of 20 numbers between 5 and 50, which means generate random numbers from 5 to 50, a set of 20 numbers. Now data equals to np.where the data is less than 10, which is the logical test. 0, which is the value of set if it is true. Then data, value set if it is false. Print data, print this output. By the time you run it, if you run it, you get this output. You can see there's a set of 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's how many rows? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But if you count the numbers here, they are actually 20, a set of 20 numbers. If we reduce this, let's make this 10, for example, we run it. You can see it will give us only 10, a random of 10 numbers that satisfies the condition. So this is how to use the random nrandom.uniform and np.where. Now if we make progress, okay, we want to learn how to define functions. So how do you define functions? So we use the key code word def, new function, argument 1, argument 2, then this defines the new function. Now you return the function argument 1 plus argument 2, Then you say new function 20 times 5, 20 plus 5. If you run this now, this code here, it gives you 25. So if you change the argument here, asterisk, you run it, you see that it is what? 20 times 5 is 100. So you define the function using this code. I'll use any name for it. Now let's make progress. Okay. Now, for example, now we define the sum function here. Define sum function. We have three variables, x, y, and z. Answer equals to false. If answer column, print x, y, z, return the variable and the operation is addition. So it will add these three numbers and give you a result. Okay, you see it. If I decide to change any of this maybe to times, it multiplies these two and adds the last one. You run it, you can see it has added, multiplied x and y, which is 5 times 10, which is 50, and added 20. So let's make progress. Now you can also define using the lambda function. The lambda functions are simple functions that are used just once. So for example, use another function, second function equals to lambda. This is the equation here. Lambda equal lambda x, the variables, y, z, column. Then you insert the operation among the variables, x times y plus z. Then you say second function, you input the values 5, 10. By the time you run it, you get 70. So if you change this, this is a multiplication. I change this to addition. I add it, I run it. Okay, it's now here, 35. You see it has changed. Now we make progress. We now use the map function, using the map and the lambda function. So we use another function here. We use second function as the name we gave it. Now here we're using third function equal to map lambda x. X is defined as x raised to power 2 for the values that are inside of here. So that will be for item in third function, print item. So you are telling the equation to square every value in this, and you discover the output is 1, 4 for 2, 9 for 3, 4 for 16. So we make progress. Okay, now we are here. Now we're going to use the map without the lambda function. So you define this square x, return the x as x raised to power 2. Then, for example, you add this name, new map is equals to map square 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Close it. Then for item in new map, print item. So we make progress. Yeah. Then if you run this output, you discover it's 1, 4, 9, 16, 25. Okay, now let's make progress. Now we want to learn how to add data to a list. Supposing you have an empty list. This is empty list is equal to an empty cell. Now is an empty list for numbers in range 0 to 10, range of numbers. List, append these numbers to this number, print lists. That's inside here. By the time we run this code here, the numbers that are appended are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, now we make progress. Now we can run this code in another way. You can just say list2 equals to numbers for numbers in range 0 to 101, or which is 0 to 100. Then the first 100 numbers, then print list2. So it gives you a value from 0 to 100. If you run the code, you see it. Now the same thing here. Another way of using the same code is to run it list3, numbers for numbers in range. The same code here. Let me take this one up a bit so you can see. This code is the same as this. The only difference is that we added is if numbers modular 2 is equal to 0, then print list 3. It gives us all the even numbers from 0 to 100, 2, 2, 2. So if we change this to 3, for example, and we run it, let's see what it gives us. That's it, 0369 till 99. Now let's make progress. Okay. Now using list compression to display combinations, we can just give a name, which we call it combine equals to A plus B for in house, for B in agent. These two things can be two different names. Now what is the output is going to do is going to pair each, H, A, H, G, H, E, pairing each. You can see the output here. See the output. If you run this, it gives you a good output. You see it. So whatever you put here is what is going to generate as output in pairs. Then if you want to populate a dictionary, for example, here you say words, you have names, age, and sex. Remember, in dictionaries they are in pairs, so names is supposed to have a pair. Now you can generate that or populate that dictionary with what you generate with a code. So word length, you put it in parentheses. For word in words, word length word equals to length of the word. What's the length of the word? Each of this, print the word length, which is this output here. By the time you print it, you have name 5 names. You count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is 5. Age is 3. Sex is 3. Then you make progress. You can also do the same coding here using the same way, but this is a shorter way. Words is equals to the names you want to use, the words or names. Word length is you use this word column len word for word in words. Then print word length, then it will give you these values. Then finally, you have another way. This is another way to pair in Python. Words, you give the 3 words or 5 or 10, whatever they are. Word length 3, 5, 3, 3. You already calculated and added in here. You now say pairs equal to zip. This is the code, zip. Words, these words here, and the word length. Then for item in pairs, then print item. When you do this, the output will be generated. Okay, this is the output: name 5, age 3, sex 3. So this is how you use some basic operations and basic ways of working with Python. So far in this lesson, we treated how to define keywords or define functions in Python. We also treated loops, which are conditional statements. We also treated loops are under conditional statements. We also treated how to read and write data in Python. Then we also treated, those are the basic things we treated in this class. So if we go through them again, we treated files and folders and directories, checking Python working directory, loading files into Python, conditional statements, writing custom function, and list comprehensions. So if you have any questions on what we have treated, please feel free to drop your comments below. And this is the lesson we require, the background information we require. Now, by the next lesson, we'll be jumping into proper data analysis. So my name remains Vincent Hope. Thank you for watching. Do have a very blessed day. Thank you.